Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. If it's not Pegasus, is it Predator spyware used to spy on the nation? This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Thursday, 28th April 2022. Details when we return.
Hubbard's Multi-Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Welcome back. If Pegasus was not spyware procured by government of Trinidad and Tobago, then was it Predator? That's the question posed by opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar, who repeated claims to her Monday night audience that government is spying on citizens. The use of Pegasus by the state has been denied by the Prime Minister, the National Security Minister, Acting Top Cop MacDonald Jacob, and former Commissioner Gary Griffith. Urvashi Tiwari Rupnarayan of TV6 News reports.
Opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar is calling the Prime Minister out on what she says are conflicting statements and contradictions in spyware statements.
First, we have the software. That was on the Tuesday meeting in Martin. And he said, don't worry if you're not a criminal. Then he said, he came to Parliament, man. So is he misleading the Parliament as well? That is something we will have to consider, to file a privilege motion in the Parliament that Rowley is misleading the Parliament. He's misleading the Parliament. He comes and he then says, they have it, but it is with SSA. Then we heard the former Commissioner of Police. They said he procured it illegally. And then we saw Acting Commissioner Jacobs with another story today. So which one is the truth?
She's also taking government to task over claims that one officer demands data be handed over, saying an officer could not do so without the express permission of the police commissioner or face a fine of $1 million and imprisonment.
Because our information was that national security and others were being pressured to share intercepted information with Constable Clement. You know, that's a crime too. One is you intercept without the proper mechanisms, that's a crime. But if you share the information with someone else, that is also a crime. So what is the role of Constable Clement? Has he been given access to store data, to macro data, to spy data?
And that's not all. She says National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines is in breach of the law for not filing annual reports of interception activities, the last being in 2017.
4 years, no reports. No reports, and I'll tell you more when, because the last report they filed is even more eye-opening. So they breached the law. Hines, you are breaking the law, and we will take you to court to force you to file those reports in the Parliament.
That 2017 report contained in 1 year over 750,000 interceptions.
Answer that. You say you only use it for criminals. Answer. Out of 750,000, how many, please tell us? Hundreds of thousands of intercepts with one of the lowest crime detection rates in the country. And therefore, again, whom are they spying on?
Was the opposition wrong about Pegasus? Was it instead Cytrox's, according to Persad-Bissessar, equally dangerous Predator software? She points to a published article on Predator with 2 country-specific domains or endpoint IDs located in TNT.
And there are 2 servers for Trinidad and Tobago. One is forward.eshoptt.com and the other is guardiantt.me. I wonder if it's a Guardian journalist is spying on. If the government denies using Cytrox Predator spyware, the question then arises, well then who is using it? If publisher is being used here on 2 domain names, if it's not a government, well then whom? Whom? Is it a friend or a financier or family? But that's how they operate, your friends, financiers, and family.
She's also demanding government come clean to the country on who is being trained on interception software and why.
Why did you not tell us and the country that Israeli Aerospace Industries IAI subsidiary group, ELTA Systems of Israel, are here conducting, as I say, cyber spyware, malware, and interception training today and tomorrow at the National Operations Fusion Center.
Mrs. Prasad Bisasa exits her Monday night forum with this piece of advice for the Prime Minister.
I want to ask the Prime Minister, look, sort yourself out, please. Before you talk to the population, sort yourself out, get your story straight. Then you come to talk to the people.
And this for you.
I warn you, I always ask you, be careful on your phones. Big Brother is watching you, but not for good reasons. Be very, very careful.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Guyana's President Irfan Ali is on a 3-day visit to Britain and is expected to meet with Prince Charles, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson, and other members of Britain's private sector.
This is President Irfan Ali's first official visit to the United Kingdom since becoming president. On Wednesday, he's expected to meet with the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, and on Thursday, he will meet with Prince Charles. But on his arrival today, he first met with investors. His message to them was very clear. Guyana is open for investment in a wide array of sectors, and he's encouraging them to put their money into Guyana very fast.
We are working with the best in the business, developers from Singapore, on the urban plan of this new city. And we are hoping very shortly that we can launch this out. And maybe this is an area in which we can look at some of the financing from the UK. So in this investment forum, it is not only about understanding what the opportunities are. It is understanding how we can get to those opportunities. Understanding what available resources are there to support us in going after some of these opportunities. And I find sometimes that is the missing link. So if I would have a humble suggestion for the organizers of this session, maybe it would be good to have the UK agency, financing agencies from the government, spend an hour with potential investors in the country, outlining, and I'm sure maybe High Commissioner, in your session you can do some of this too, outlining some of this opportunity and what is required of you to be part of or make use of this opportunity that is available.
Antigua's Prime Minister Gaston Brown has called for open, constructive dialogue on reparations for slavery. He made the comments during a recent visit of the Earl and Countess of Wessex, Prince Edward and Sophie. The comments have since dominated headlines in the British media, as Garfield Beauford of ABS News reports.
The press in Britain and elsewhere in Europe had several headlines from Prime Minister Honourable Gaston Brown's comments. The Independent and Daily Express among the publications which devoted significant attention to the comments from the head of government. In the battle for the most catchy and possibly even most sensational headlines, the Daily Express was definitely out in front with a reference to Royal Tour Fury. It's not quite clear where the fury was. Prime Minister Brown made it clear to the Wessexes the issue of reparations requires open and constructive dialogue.
We do not necessarily see it as a contentious issue. It's an issue in which we believe that all human civilization should understand the atrocities that took place during colonialism and slavery, and the fact that we have to bring some balance by having open discussions. We believe in constructive engagement. So, even though there's with any placards.
However, he suggested the roles the royals could take in aiding the region's struggle for reparatory justice.
We understand that the nature of your job is not to get involved in any contentious issue, but at the same time, it's important for you to understand these issues, and so that you can even use your, let's say, diplomatic influence to build bridges in achieving the reparatory justice that we're seeking here in the Caribbean.
Prime Minister Brown explained why it is important that reparatory justice becomes a reality for countries of the region.
We have to acknowledge the fact that we have been left behind as a result of the situation associated with colonialism and slavery, and that there's some need for some reparations to help us to build capacity so that we can advance at a faster rate, and especially to build resilience. And again, as I said, I know it's a contentious issue. We're not trying to embarrass you. We're just trying to build awareness, and you need not necessarily comment on this issue because, again, we know you represent an institution that does not get involved in contentious issues.
And indeed, as was expected, there was no retort from the royals on the thorny issue of climate and reparatory justice. Another point raised by the head of government and picked up by many of the international news outlets was the Twin Island state's intention to go the route of becoming a republic in the future, though not immediately on the cards.
Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness adds his voice to the new firearms bill debate. Details in this TVJ News item with Dwayne Anderson.
The intention of the government is to properly structure and regulate firearm ownership and usage in Jamaica.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness sending a clear message to legal gun users in the country. He said he has heard the concerns of some stakeholders who feel that the new firearms bill now before Parliament is against using guns of any kind. But Mr. Holness, who attended a Jamaica Rifle Association competition over the weekend, said his presence at the event is to signal to the country that the government he leads is not on a mission to deprive persons of their lawfully acquired firearms.
The outcome I'm foreseeing will be a far better regulated space for the private ownership of firearms. It will be a space where the people who own firearms are certified, both technically and in terms of fit and proper, meaning that they have established a need for the firearm and they have established that they are responsible.
The Prime Minister explained that the views of some lawmakers on the JSC is not an indication that they have a vendetta against any firearm-based organization, but instead is a sign that democracy is working.
It is not the intention of the government to see the end of the sport of rifle shooting or shotgun shooting or pistol shooting. It is not the intention of the government to see the end of the Rifle Association.
If the new firearms bill becomes law, it will, among other things, mandate that persons serve a minimum of 15 years in prison if they are held with an illegal firearm.
The country must come down heavily on that. There can be no ambivalence in our perspectives that anyone who has an illegal firearm should be punished in the harshest possible way.
Dwayne Anderson, TVJ News.
Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Philip Davis, welcomes U.S. Congresswoman Maxine Waters. ZNS News tells us more.
A tour de force in American politics, paying a courtesy call on Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Philip Davis, at his Cable Beach office this morning. Stopping by U.S. Congresswoman Maxine Waters. The two exchanged gifts and discussed matters of mutual importance, including the financial sector and crypto space, tourism, climate change, and carbon markets, as well as gun reforms that can reduce gun violence in both countries. Among those joining the Prime Minister, Acting Minister of Foreign Affairs and Public Service, the Honorable Alfred Sayers, the Bahamas Ambassador to the United States, Colombia, and Malaysia, His Excellency Wendell Jones. Congresswoman Waters was joined by several of her colleagues, as well as the U.S. Chargé d'Affaires to the Bahamas, Yusha Pitts. Waters is no stranger to the Bahamas. Her husband, Sidney Williams, served as the U.S. ambassador here from 1994 to 1998.
Hubbard's Motor Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.